Arrogant, overrated system players who can't get over the line. That's the rhetoric and the language being used to describe England, obviously, after the disappointing game against Spain, in which Spain rightfully won 2-1. The best team doesn't always win in football, but in relation to that 90 minutes, or better yet, from what we've seen of both teams throughout the Euros, Spain are deserved champions. They weren't only better than England on the night, they've been the best team in Europe, in the European Championships. And, for their experienced players like Carvajal, whose career is winding down, or the young rising stars like Nico Williams and Yalmao and Dani Almo, and the list goes on, or underrated performers because they won't get the hype, but even Cucurella from Chelsea and Fabian Ruiz, the collective whole squad did their bit. So shout out to Spain. They deserve their accolades and their applauds. Now, system players. Now, in today's day and age, individuals will always make the difference. It will always be an individual kind of sport, in a sense of, we know there's 11 players out there. There's always been tactics and formation. So I don't know where the system stuff has really come from. But in today's day and age, as we all know, it's less about the individuals and more about the system. You look at Chelsea, you look at Cucurella, who's giving it rightly so to Gary Neville. He looked crap, much like a lot of those Chelsea players. In Spain, there's a system that hides his flaws like everybody and enhances his strengths. And collectively, everybody's got a job. Individually, everybody has no air of doubt with Spain of what they want to do. Spain have a philosophy. It's not quite tiki-taka, but you always know they're going to be a possession-based side, regardless of who is the manager, who are the players selected, etc., etc. There's a collective ethos, and many countries can lay claim to this. Any team that is half a decent team will give England problems, and it feels like, I can't be disrespectful to Southgate because it is a results-driven business, and we didn't win the Euros. But at the same time, you've got to semis, you've got to 2 finals now. I haven't seen England do that, but we're winging it. Let's be honest. There's no system, there's no framework, and this goes for every England side. There's nothing really and truly. You've got, and we're gonna go over a lot of stuff, but you've got Bukayo Saka, Declan Rice, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer, a bunch of players that are coming off the back of great club seasons, whether they've won stuff or individually they've stood out. Why does everyone look rubbish? Now, I've never been in Gareth Southgate's situation. I've never been a manager. I ain't got the coaching badges. I don't really have a leg to stand on. But to me, as an ignorant fan and just a lover of football, there is no system. Why did these players look average? And make no mistake, individually, the players have to stand up to be counted. But football's a simple game. You've got to keep them at the back of your net, and you've got to put them in the opponents. Now, again, for all the attacking talent, that some of the best players were probably, Mr. Gurhey had a great tournament. Pickford had a good tournament as well. If we're waffling more about defenders or the defensive art of the game than in the attacking third, immediately that's the first issue. Harry Kane said we don't know how to press going into this tournament, and it was too easy for half the teams, but focusing on Spain to just play through England. There's too many gaps in midfield. There's no real system of how you're going to get the ball from Jordan Pickford to Harry Kane or whoever and put the ball in the back of the net. Again, respectfully to Jordan Pickford, he's not that good with his feet. Obviously, to us mere normal football fans he is, but in the modern day he cannot play with his feet. We're lumping it long. We have no real plan of winning the first header, whether that's Harry Kane. The second ball in football is one that you can't miss out, and Spain and any other team seem to do better than us at that. So if you have if your midfield is disorganized and disillusioned, you've got square pegs in round holes, you're not really creating anything, you can't really collectively defend pressing from the front, you're in problems already. And again, there's nothing wrong with being a system player, but find a system that gets the best out of them. Jude Bellingham, he's played, for England, he's playing a different role than he has for previous years. You probably saw him at Dortmund in a more withdrawn role. He's probably got a more freer role in the Real Madrid side. So that's a player that's able to thrive in systems in 2 different ways. Why does he look lost? Why does Saka look lost? Why does Phil Foden look lost? Phil Foden's another tournament where he's been built up to be the poster boy. And to be fair with you, Phil Foden and Harry Kane, you've probably been the 2 most disappointing England players. But every player has to take accountability. Southgate is a very conservative manager. When there was the only good things you could say in that Spain game, really and truly, is there was a stage when we scored that it looked like, might be able to do something here, but for 5 minutes or so, before he brought on Cole Palmer, he was actually going to make defensive changes, really. And I'm not saying that's necessarily wrong, but in essence, when push comes to shove and your back is against the wall, humans will always revert to type. He's a conservative manager, so you can't really expect us to thrive with that, really and truly. If I'm completely honest with you, I don't know how we got to the final. I have to give credit to everyone because we got there. Whatever I have to say, we got there. But you can see the flaws essentially within the team. we've got a conservative manager that puts a handbrake up for any of these attackers. All of these attackers look lost. It's very slow, it's very predictable, it's very possession, it's very pedestrian-esque. There's not really any movement. You look at the Spain squad before a midfielder gets the ball, let's say Rodri, before Rodri's got the ball, he knows Nico Williams is gone, he knows Yao Mao's there, he knows the teammates there, they're passing into empty spaces. There's a lot of synergy, everything that Spain had. In fact, Spain, Denmark, Austria, most of these teams in this European Championship, in comparison to England, really, we had some great individual moments and some margins that saw us get to the final. We done it regardless, but this is where things are going to get highlighted. Where England go from here, I don't know. There's rumors they want Gareth Southgate to stay. I'd imagine he's probably going to step down, if I'm completely honest with you. There needs to be a massive rethink, man. You've put too much emphasis on players that are disillusioned. You've put Phil Foden really needs to stand up to be counted. It's the second Euros he's flattered to deceive. He looks disillusioned. I'm not going to make out Marcus Rashford is the messiah and the answer to everything, but I said going into the tournament, one thing Marcus Rashford has is he's very different. We've got a lot of possession-based footballers. Rashford will run in behind. You don't have that. And with what I saw in hindsight on the left-hand side, with whatever he was doing, you should have probably took Grealish or Rashford. Hindsight is 2020, of course. Appalling there. In fact, on that, shout out to Gurhi, Young Maino, Bukayo Saka, Curtis Jones, Cole Palmer. There was a couple of guys that stood up to be counted throughout this tournament, but you're crippled really and truly. It's not making any sense. Young Maino as well, big him up. He's earned the right to be there. Southgate didn't want to play him from the start. The final was the first time he was underwhelming, but that's an 18, 19-year-old lad playing in his first tournament off the back of his first proper season as a footballer. What is going on? The midfield is disillusioned regardless of who's out there. Defense, they can defend well, but it's just all man. They're just deserted. We're not defending from the whole team. We can't attack. We can't attack from our defenders. We can't defend from the front. What are we trying to do in the modern day? We're not playing out from the back. What are we doing? This is the climate we're in. This is the modern day. Everyone has a goalie that can play ball. Unai Simon, do I think he's a better goalkeeper than Jordan Pickford at the traditional goalkeeping? No, but one thing he's comfortable with a ball at his feet. There's different angles and passing lanes and things of that ilk, really. There's nothing wrong with being, a system player, but we need to find a system that gets the best out of them. And unfortunately, I'd more say it's how the British portray themselves when we go on holiday, and there is an unnecessary, unhealthy amount of arrogance, not just Europe. The whole world is going to rejoice when England take an L like they did yesterday, people, really. It's not making sense. It's another generation that could be lost, really and truly, essentially. We've been here before. I'm only 29, but I've seen the Rooneys, the Ashley Coles, the Lampards, the Gerrards. The list goes on, and you've got Foden, Bellingham, etc. Everyone looks limited. Declan Rice, extremely limited as a footballer anyways, respectfully. He plays in a system at West Ham and obviously at Arsenal that gets the best out of him and hides his weaknesses. He's out of sorts there. When he gets the ball at Arsenal, you know exactly what you need to do. You don't need to think. He's lost. Bellingham's lost. Cole Palmer, great individual brilliance, but he looks lost. Saka looks lost. Foden is lost. On top of Foden needing to do stuff. Harry Kane, as much as I'm getting at Kane, I actually feel sorry for you because we're just expecting to lump it long and you're playing against two centre-halves half the time. Nobody's getting around you to win the first and second ball. So naturally, you're going to drop into midfield. But again, if you're going to drop in, there's no runners. Yeah, throughout the whole month of football, Bellingham's made that run. But no one has the ability or the cojones to find you. So we're literally defeating ourselves. And I'd say the biggest disappointment beyond the obvious yesterday would be have no regrets. There's no shame in losing to Spain. They are the favourites. They were the best team. They've got some great players, the present Carvajal's and the ones of tomorrow in Yao Mao. If someone plays a fantastic pass or pops it from 30 yards and you lose, you have to hold your hands up. But them boys can't say that they went out there and gave it their all. They can't say they put their best foot forward, and they can't say they have no regrets, essentially. And the most damning thing is, let's be honest, it was not, the final was almost poetic in that. For me, it summed up the whole of the Euros in a sense of the Euros had some great moments, some great goals, some great talking points. There was a couple of entertaining games, but generally the standard of football was dead. Spain versus England, it was nothing to scream and shout about. For Spain, it is. They've made history. For England, it's another L, back-to-back consecutive Euro Championship finals, but it was nothing to really scream about. It was really nothing. Respectfully to Spain, they didn't have to get out of first gear. The only time they felt a bit uncomfortable was when we scored, and obviously either was it Declan Rice or Gurhi, someone's header was cleared off the line heroically quickly by Almo. Spain didn't have to be at their best, and that's more damning on England than Spain. Spain just were competent, did what they needed to do, did what they've been doing all tournament, and reaped the rewards, really. The only thing that Spain probably could have done is it probably should have been 3-4 goals in their favour, and they probably should not have conceded. Shout out to Palmer, because that moment was good. But they didn't have to be at their best, and that's damning on England, really. And obviously, you know, you can't always get at the manager when things go bad and not the players, and talk up the players when things go right. But it's a collective mess. Them players are not bad players. There needs to be a system. There needs to be a manager that knows what he's doing, you know, because a lot of these things are self-inflicted. Trippier, what the hell has been... The left-hand side for England is another debate. What the hell's been going on all tournament? You're calling up Trippier. You're messing around in central midfield. You're messing around at left back. You know, you're not really making sense with what you're doing, Southgate. A lot of these things are self-inflicted, essentially, and it's just jarring, man. So it's another final that I'm sure the players would quickly want to forget. I don't think any players can leave with any glory. You know, I think Jude Bellingham failed to impress. I think Phil Foden, definitely another tournament flat to deceive. I think off the back of a disappointing club campaign for Harry Kane, you know, this could have been a welcome escape. Dead there. You look at how Morata was playing. You know, obviously Kane is a more seasoned veteran up front. He's a better striker. But in terms of the modern day, dropping deep, winning tactical fouls, all of that affecting the game without scoring, Morata did that yesterday. He stood up to be counted, if I'm honest with you. But I'm on the players, but I'm more onto the system, because they're all lost. They're not bad players, essentially. You know, if your name's not Mark Gurhey, Cole Palmer, Bukayo Saka, you know, to be fair, Jordan Pickford, you know, I don't know if I said Cole Palmer, and the players that, you know, the Bowens, by default, the Ezes, the Bowens, the Waltons, the guys that really played no significant kind of part, you know, big up Ollie Watkins and Tony. There were a couple of players that could leave with their head held high, but it's not that thing. We win, we lose, and we draw together. All we can do is go again, people. And I actually was planning on making this video last night, but I didn't want to. So I tried to write notes down, and let me see if I've missed out. I don't think I've missed out anything I wanted to say, people. I do think there's unrealistic expectations to a degree on Phil Foden. By the end of the day, man, he's got to do more. Kane did nothing. Shout out to Maino, as I said. The left-hand side was terrible all tournament. The centre mid was just 6s and 7s. Defence, but it weren't really looking gracious. It's just all men to the pump. Really failed to score goals or fashion any chances, really and truly, for the whole tournament. Spain just had to be confident, as I said. It just looked like 11 individuals out there, if I'm completely honest with you. It's absolutely poor, man. There's no method to the madness. There's no structure. There's no system. There's no anticipation for the second balls or to make runs off the ball. Football's decided off the ball. Go and look at the last goal we conceded with Walker. That was shambolic. So yeah, credit to Spain. They deserve it, really and truly. And it's, I think in my lifetime, 29 years, this is the second time I've seen them win it. I'm sure they done the Euros. Nah, it might even be the third time, you know. I'm sure they did the Euros, World Cup, and then the Euros. So, yeah, I've seen them do it 3 times. But Spain deserved it. They've been the best team in the tournament. A couple of their players are going to get moves. You know, Barcelona, it's going to take more than just Yamal to eclipse Real Madrid. But to have a player like that is great. Nico Williams, his price tag is going to go all the way up, even though he's got a release clause. And, you know, I'm sure he's looking forward to what's being said. So, yeah, man, congratulations to Spain. Commiserations to us England fans. But on to 2026, I guess, man. But yeah, I want to thank you lot as well, because my content, you lot have been supporting it in general. Again, we've done a lot of watch-alongs and Euro 2024 based content throughout the last month. So yeah, big up you lot for you lot support, man. Smash the like button. Let me know your thoughts. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.